his corner office somewhere.
His name is like
and ready to help us again. Yes, if it ever happens again. On to his point. You know who remembers his name? Kevin.
Speaking of ADHD, but
How did you Kevin's also one. Did you ask co-pilot? Come on, tell the truth. All right, let's he said it's your memory. Okay. Let's pause for a moment before you go on. We have some rusty news, but first, I have a word from our sponsor. How about that? U.S. Cloud. You guys know the U.S. Cloud. I hope you do. I've been talking to them. They support 50 of the Fortune 500. And they can say there's 3 reasons people will switch to U.S. Cloud. Money. It's pretty cool. It's a new offering. They call it their Azure Cost Optimization Service. They have a they like it that you've got all that extra Azure going, right? Keep the spigot on. But U.S. Cloud has now an 8-week Azure engagement powered by VBox. It identifies key opportunities to reduce costs across these IT. That much now. Or it's increase versus I don't know. That budget is tight, right? Now you might want to do what a lot of people do, which is take the savings and put it into U.S. Cloud's Microsoft support and save even more. That's actually a very popular option. I'm sure U.S. Cloud would like if you do that, but you don't have to. It'd be nice though, wouldn't it, to completely eliminate your unified spend and shrink your Azure engagement. Sam, the technical operations manager of Bead Gaming, he gave U.S. Cloud 5 stars. He said, we found some things that have been running for 3 years that no one was checking. These VMs were, I don't know, 10 grand a month, not a massive chunk in the grand scheme of how much we spend on Azure. But once you get to $40,000 or $50,000 a month, that really adds up. Stop overpaying for Azure. Identify and eliminate Azure creep and boost your performance. You can do it all in 8 weeks with U.S. Cloud. Just one more reason. You gotta call U.S. Cloud right now. Visit uscloud.com, book a call, find out how much you can save. Find out more about this Azure engagement. This is a really good idea. uscloud.com, book a call right now. Get faster, better Microsoft support. Or less. Thank you, U.S. Cloud, for supporting our show. We appreciate it. And I hope you'll support us by telling them as they ask you, oh yeah, what's your what are you talking about? That helps us. All right, Paulie, back we go. Let's talk about Rust. Yeah. We were actually talking about that yesterday. Yeah, in low-level environments, that's just not acceptable. Like, you don't write drivers, you don't write microcode. Like, that's not how this works.
Yeah, so. No, it's completely different. Yeah, and I this is kind of fascinating to me. I just so the UV, the firmware that's in Surface is written 100% Rust, and it is also the firmware they use in Azure and in their data centers. So it has been open sourced. In fact, most of the stuff that he discusses has been open sourced by Microsoft. It's called Project Mu, M-U. You can find it on GitHub. So they're encouraging that, PC Maker partners, to use this as well. He didn't discuss whether any have or will. They've been a pretty resistant group to anything, frankly, forever. So I don't know that that's ever going to happen. Kind of interesting. In every case, there's been a performance benefit. In every case, the experience has been overwhelmingly positive for those people involved, and they'll never go back. Like that's been one truism of this. So, or a set of truisms, I guess. And then I'm trying to think what the other. Tooling is an issue. Obviously, Microsoft has a rich body of programming tools, utilities, frameworks, languages, etc. So, getting everything up to speed to work with Rust is going to take some time. And then, of course, Rust itself is also still evolving, even though it's 10 years old or so. There's some bits of it that aren't yet stable that could change, and we still have to deal with that. And Windows, of course, thanks to the architecture dating back to literally the first version, 85, dynamic linking, right, from when we didn't have enough RAM to run something as big and heavy as Windows. Dynamic linking, which is common in Windows today, still is a problem with Rust apparently. So it's not, it's not all perfect. But the way he says it is, look, it's not all rosy, but it's rosy enough, and we're all in, is the way he said it. So,
well, and it does, it looks like so do these, when you can define the API barrier, one side can be rusted, one side can be something else.
Yeah.
Plus, there's excellent books on rust. It has a crab, and they call themselves rustaceans.
Rustaceans, yeah.
So what, I mean, really?
You know why they call it that? Because they took the C out of the word.
Oh, I get it now.
See? Wow. Crustacean, take away the C, which is what they're doing with language, becomes a rustacean.
I didn't actually get that.
I just made that up, by the way. I don't know if that's true, but I think that.
It's a rust station.
Yeah, that's my animal.
Because otherwise it'd be crust.
Yes, yeah, we're crusty. Yeah, you sure are.
It's not exactly C-like, but all languages nowadays, all imperative languages.
I mean, it's
like C.
But it is C-like, right? I mean, it's C-like. Most languages are C-like, I guess. Modern languages.
I think people resist. You spend a lot of time learning a language.
This is all I deal with now is people resisting everything.
Nobody wants to.
You couldn't. I couldn't explain anything enough for someone not to be like, yeah, but, and then they say something. I'd be like, I addressed that like 2 hours ago. They just don't. They can't get past it.
We did a whole thing on .NET Rocks about the C# services being migrated to Rust. It's like, is Microsoft abandoning C#? Like, no.
Yes,
what about something like F#, the functional version?
No, so functional languages like F# are never going to replace mainstream language. They're just very special use cases.
Like their local variables.
Yeah, I mean, G# maybe,
Because there's a group of folks who can think functionally, like it's a different way of thinking, and it's very hard to hold both in your head. Yeah. And so the F# believers are a small group of very enthusiastic people. They're great at what they do. Their code is not obvious.
Indecipherable. Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you're used to imperative languages, it's not. But you can get used to functional. And once you grok it, I think it's certainly safer, right?
All right, so
it's got some advantages, but you're eliminating these side
What I'm about to say is going to sound super unsophisticated, but they're literally working on this. So, when I first heard about Rust a couple of years ago, when I first came in the Microsoft space, right? I heard that Microsoft was working on Rust. They're putting Rust in the kernel. They've since shipped Rust in the kernel. You can go to the command line and see the components that are in Rust, etc. Very exciting. And then AI happens, right? These two things were kind of coincidental at Microsoft in a way, time-wise. And AI, we just talked about this briefly, but AI is especially good with programming. And of course, in my dumb Cro-Magnon brain, I think to myself, one of the first things I blurt out without really thinking it through is, couldn't you just take the Windows kernel and say, hey, Copilot,
no, you can't
rewrite this in Rust?
Okay, I'm just going to say,
No, I know,
right there.
No, but hold on a second. They are actually working on what I just said.
Oh,
so this is not happening tomorrow. It's not happening in next year. Whatever. There's a whole bunch of stuff that has to happen. But at the end of his talk, Mark Ruzinovich discusses that aspect of this, which is it's not going to be like flip a switch and compile. And
it's also a very normal practice when you're switching languages like this. You migrate smaller pieces.
Yeah.
Yes. You build up a repertoire of skills.
Exactly. And then it gets better and better, and then it accelerates, and soon you're like, oh wow.
The thing that worries me is if you use, it depends how you use it, but if you use AI to code, often that means you don't really know what's going on. It's a little brittle. It's hard to debug.
Yeah.
It's all levels fine until it doesn't work.
No, like I said, what I said is patently vague and super high level. It's not. It doesn't make sense.
I trust 100% of it. My God.
Yeah. So the way he said it is, like, we want to automate the translation of scenes. We're using LLMs for this. They've created something called RAG that uses RAG LLMs to extract knowledge from text and structure forms, which is not it's like what he calls hierarchical RAG. It's supposed to be much more precise for certain things, but especially for translating stuff.
It's a really interesting use. If you can do that, I think that is really a proof of concept.
Yeah, and by the way, so his demo of it is as dumb and basic as it can be, which I think highlights how far away it is. But it's a text-mode game written in Python, which is like a side-scroll thing, and flip a switch and this and Rust is 100% identical. And it's one of those things where you have to prove that everything, the output or the output you receive on whatever input is exactly the same. So it has to be exactly right. It has to be exactly the same. It can't be like sort of the same. It has to be exactly the same. And so yes, that's a silly example, but that's sense.
We're going to interview right after the show actually on Intelligent Machines, Gary Marcus. who has been kind of very outspoken, in fact, about saying don't use AI to code. So I think it'll be
I got
interesting.
bad news for this guy. I'm sorry, but that ship has sailed. I mean, it's happened. This is, Brad,
Brad, in about, what, 50 million lines of code.
oh, yeah. No, of course, it has to scale. It's a lot. It is being used to write code right now. It's not being used probably to write 50 million lines of code.
Yeah, if they're a window,
Yeah.
But the other side of this is the performance. They went after C# services because they measure how much it costs them to operate in Azure, and anything produced from operating in Azure is what matters. And Rust is pretty performant, right? I mean,
They have never seen anything but performance gains. And someone had, one of the bits of obvious feedback he addresses actually in his talk is, he says, I'm just get in the way of this right now. I know what you're thinking. But Mark, if you refactored this code in C or C++, you would probably get some kind of performance benefit as well. And he says, right. But if we did that, we would be doing it for that reason. We're not doing it for this reason. We've still to this day never done it for this reason. But we still see 10, 20, 30%, whatever the number is, depending on the code. Performance, you just get it for free.
yeah.
He's like, we haven't even optimized for performance. That's just what we got.
This first pass.
Yeah. So, sorry, but that's, So this is, it's not the reason to use Rust, but it's a nice side benefit, right?
Yeah.
So far at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that was why people used C, because it was as close to assembler as you could get, so it was very performant.
That's why it's quick basic.
It was the easy language compared to assembler. That was the fun part.
That's right.
But it was,
and then it
a little
became
level
the
almost.
assembler for the next generation of people who thought that was too.
It was really just, I think in the earliest days, just an assembly language preprocessor, really. But okay,
more or less.
Yeah, it was pretty close.
And then when we went object oriented because it was memory efficient in the
There you go.
80s, that's C++. Right?
That's what
It's
really
like
bogged.
there's a very you need some ontological humility. They were making the best decisions they could make at the time with the
absolutely.
resources.
I think a lot of really
I
smart
would
people
never deny
lost
that.
their mind on OOP. A lot, and Microsoft
definitely
in
went too
particular.
far. And
If you look
Gates
at things
especially.
like
He's a
MFC,
believer.
and they were going to do this object-oriented file system in Cairo, and
Oh yeah.
object.
WinFS.
We headed out to lunch, and I mentioned to my wife, I said, Microsoft has killed Skype. She's like, they still make Skype? Which honestly is kind of a very normal
Lisa
response.
said the same thing, actually.
So we watched this terrible TV show that's on Netflix called Somebody Feed Phil. You might have seen this. It's like a food travel show.
I know Phil.
It's that goofy guy.
Phil Rosenthal, yeah.
Yeah, he's a goof. But
Produced Everybody Loves Raymond.
that's right.
So, yeah.
And everyone would know that for some reason, I guess. I don't. So anyway, he's a whatever. He's a guy. He's whatever. But at the end of every show, he makes a Skype call with his parents for some reason. It's terrible. It's the worst part of the show. But the Skype logo is prominently displayed in the corner, and they're talking on Skype.
So it's
I
an
don't
ad
know what
placement.
I don't know what they're going to do next time, right? But and so I mentioned that to her. I said, you watch a show that uses Skype every episode. She's like, yeah, I don't see that stuff. I'm like, okay, which
Yeah,
is
I
like
don't-
kind of it's a Mary Jo thing to say, right? Like I don't notice that. Like it's like okay.
Yeah.
Why would they know that?
But there's a whole episode now to be made about migrating to Teams.
Yeah, I hope they do that. Yeah, exactly. They'll do the teams. They'll probably just move to FaceTime, frankly. But
Do you think Microsoft paid for that placement?
I would assume so, of course. But I mean, but it's the only example I can think of something like that beyond the. I think was it. No, it wasn't Sherlock. There was some show that used like Windows phones like years after they stopped making them. Remember? And like I'm sure when Windows Phone was a going concern, they were trying to get Windows phones in movies and TV shows. Every company that makes things like this has that effort. But you don't really see a lot of Microsoft product placement in the world, and that was a weird example of it to me. But the other extreme response to Skype being killed is like people have just woken up out of a funk or something, and they're like, wait, what's going on? I rely on this product. I use it to call phone numbers like landlines.
I need it.
And it's like, wait, dude, what? Where are you from? Are you from the Wild West? Like who? No, but I think I've heard from every single person who does this. They're freaking out. We've been talking about this for years. It's happening suddenly all of a sudden. But 2 years ago, Jeff T, we were saying, look, we're not going to do it suddenly. We are transitioning to Teams. This is the time. You got to start thinking about this stuff. And of course, the problem in this particular use case is that there is no thinking.
There's no replacement for
Yeah. So struggling to come up with a solution for these people. The obvious one would be Google Voice, right? I spent 20 minutes the other day typing in zip codes, area codes, and then names of cities in the United States to try to find a number, and there were no numbers. So I don't understand why they don't have a UI that's like, I'm feeling lucky, just give me a number in Des Moines or something. I don't know, but I tried every area code I could think of in Pennsylvania, in Boston area, and a bunch of city names, and I never came up with a single number. But I assume if you could get a number, if you already have a number, I assume that would be a solution. You could use voice to call those numbers, right? But I don't know. But yeah, that's a tough one if you're still using that. Just like it's a tough one if you're still using like a cherry or a horse and buggy. I mean,
No,
you know,
it's not. Stop there. You can use Google Voice though, right?
if you could get a number.
Oh, you can?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I thought it was a question of paying you a phone number.
Because Google's been kind of indicating that they didn't really want to do this anymore. We gotta
Listen, if
We
you
sold a place in Coquitlam. I took the phone numbers that were, dedicated landlines there, and I migrated them into Teams.
Yeah.
Exported them into Teams, and now they go.
But you're talking about Teams commercial, so this is a slight difference.
Yeah, but it goes through an automated attendant, so you actually,
That's good.
so that blocks a lot of the spammers. And
See, it's up to Microsoft to convince people that this is a viable thing.
yeah, and I don't think that it is. Try and set up a Teams account. There's no better example. Start from scratch on a bare machine that doesn't have any Microsoft accounts on it at all. Set up a Teams account from scratch.
I would never do that. But you just
But
decide.
it's such a bad. There's famous stories of guys like Scott Guthrie took the whole Azure leadership team, gave me each like a $100 credit card, and said, "Go build a website on Azure with none of your existing accounts. Go from scratch." And in a weekend, none of them did. Yeah, because the barrier to setting up accounts and things is just so freaking high. They make it impossible to get started. If you're already in Teams, it's fine. If you're not, you ain't getting there. It's just too hard.
And if you're just an individual person, whatever. Listen, you signing up for Google Voice today will assure you that they will kill that service tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like Google will kill that immediately.
But normal people are using now WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger.
That's right.
Or
That's right.
Signal. Or almost all of these will do. phone
Every
calls now, so-
person, every business, everything in this country that ever now is on WhatsApp. Everything. People, they text their doctors, and I get responses like, "This is the way people communicate."
What is it in the U.S. that we don't have any consensus?
We have blue bubbles, we have green bubbles, Leo,
Yeah.
and never the twain shall meet.
I mean, if everybody were on an iPhone, my phone would messages will work great.
Would be
No, and genuinely, I have friends who are so iPhone centric that the fact that I have an Android means I can't chat.
The stupid thing is you can, but they're just being dicks.
I don't disagree. It's the bottom line is you have to go where people are, and I'm not buying an iPhone for that.
Well, Apple support for RCS now at least gives it a decent connection to Android devices, but
This is the most artificial restriction in the history of artificial restrictions.
it's blatantly to its terms there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example of how it's been.
Yep. But I do wish everybody would just give up, give in, and start using iPhones.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
You know?
Submit to
Submit.
once and for all.
My daughter refuses. She's like you. She's like you, Rich. She says, no, I'm not.
I'll never use an iPhone. Why would I go?
But her birthday's coming up, and I called her and that's a little wedge. A little wedge.
Yeah. You know, texting call for that iPad.
Yeah.
Did you see?
Yeah. She insists on like doing a beat or something.
Some people insist on carving things into their arm with a knife. I'm not saying it's healthy. I'm just, we all have our little ideas.
I can understand
Apple
why.
Apple has an evil company from the Discord. Yeah. But Google is
less
in.
evil,
But Google's great,
frankly.
right? Like, Google's fine. Yeah, Google's good. Google's better somehow.
Google's
There are
just
no kind of
inept.
tech
If
giants.
evil is the bar, we just move to a farm and use the little.
Google and Apple both move to the same motivations. It's just that Google's so bad at it. It's like,
causes just as things go to our apparatus. It's terrible. Everything, right? It's just like it's a combination of evil and inept. You know. Yeah. Like I said, is that better or worse? I don't know.
At least if you're going to work with an evil company, work with an inept evil company. Because
Well, unless you want stuff from work. You know.
I'm telling you, the iPhone.
So do we have a consensus on our Skype replacement? Because we know it's not cheap.
No, we do not. That's well, no. No. I should say actually. So if you're an individual, right? So for a lot of people listening to the show, this advice is going to be complete nonsense. But if you're just a person, like a non-technical person who would not listen to the show, actually, the consumer version of Teams, as I'll call it, it's actually a consolidated client that comes in Windows 11. It's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Which I say, having
Still has Skype out.
what does it do? What now?
Does it still have Skype out? Like I can still phone on a landline.
No, it does not. It's a matter. It's a modern. No, it doesn't do that. It does modern things. But it works well, and it does support. One of the things I've been using it for, just in passing, is with the switch to the consolidated client, I can use it for Skype. I'm sorry, for Teams calls that are work related. It will reward for that too, right? So if I get a Teams link, that works fine. I can do Teams meetings. It's great. I don't use Teams at work anymore, but if I did, it would work for that too. They don't have it as of the last time I checked. It was any day soon they're going to have some import to get your Skype stuff into there. It'll be there, so you can have your history, your chats, your whatever. But as far as like an app, it's actually pretty good. This is an interesting comparison, maybe because I know this is controversial too. It's further along than the new album. I mean, it's nice. I mean, it is. It's pretty good. So, yeah. All right, just one more quick thing. Just a bit confident in Outlook Mobile. A week or two ago, we talked about a slew of updates. There's another one. They're getting support for delivery and read receipts, which somebody on social media told me that fax machines had back in whatever year. Fair enough. So anyway, for some reason there has been a lot of activity on Outlook Mobile this year. Right, we're only 2.5. How many returns? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on there. So this is one.
There's many things going on, and this is one of them.
Yep.
We're going to get to AI, gaming, still lots to come. I want to pause briefly to ask a favor. Could you leave us a review on, not you, Paul, I already have, our dear listeners, could you leave us a review on, do that on iTunes? It turns out, people have been review bombing us, I don't personally, I think you either listen to the show and like it or you don't, that's fine. But advertisers pay attention to reviews. So if you could help us by leaving a good review for Windows Weekly or any of the shows you listen to, like, an honest review, you don't have to lie.
I think this show is great.
But don't lie. But if you feel like the show's a good show and you want to support it, it's just another way you can do it. Is leave us a nice review, particularly on iTunes. Pay attention to that. I'm just mentioning that. Whatever. Hey, thank you for doing that. Now,
Hey Prime members, are you tired of ads interfering with your favorite podcast? Good news.
You can jump like 28 points in your first time on podcast and activate offer plus. Customers first month only subject to review. Offer subject to change. Terms and conditions may apply. Orange stat based on Equifax package 3.0 changes to the offer starting under 600. May 31st, one-time payment between January 2021 and March 2024. Any credit activity outside Kiko can have an impact on your credit.
you guys know what you're talking about.
Well, I'm not sure I would say that, but
Let's not get crazy now.
you can almost not say
Richard
no.
knows what he's talking about.
Yeah. Right. So how fast this stuff is evolving. Like
It is incredible,
This
isn't it?
past week, I'm only gonna hit on some of the things. I mean, there's been so many developments. There was just as we started the show, Google announced they're adding an AI mode in experiment at first to Google servers. So I have to go figure that out. Microsoft kept putting some in the Discord earlier, but I just my kids are here. I haven't had time today yet, but the UK CMA approved Microsoft's partnership with OpenAI after investigating, etc. Brad Smith put up a public letter aimed at the Trump administration saying, look, we have these AI export rules. They're hurting U.S. companies. They're classifying a lot of our allies and partner countries as basically a nemesis. What's the word? Nemesis is?
Nemesis?
Nemesis. Yeah, I know that's a weird one, right? Like,
That's a good question. Nemesis.
like, nemesis is probably by definition one entity, right? You have a nemesis, you don't have nemesis, but if you did,
That would be nemesis. I guess.
nemesis. Okay, there you go. And so that one seems like a pretty straight up. That's pretty obvious. You know, Nvidia's making the same complaint. It's like they're going to start hurting those companies with these things. So they're asking for some changes.
Just get in line, buddy, because
I know.
the car manufacturers are ahead of you.
It's weird. There's a lot of there's going to be a lot of complaints. That's just policy. It's politics. OpenAI announced their latest model, which is not ChatGPT 5, but rather 4.5, or GPT 4.5, which they're describing as their last non-reasoning models. Suddenly, we have traditional models. Like at this type of AI is about 2 seconds old, and we're already moving on to the next gen. They will never make a model of this type, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, I mean, feel free to use it. Sounds wonderful. One thing I have been wondering about a lot and playing with a little, and did so again this week, is local AI, right? This notion that you can download some of these still smaller models, as I think of them as small language models, SLMs. By the way, Microsoft refers to these things as different things, which I hate. LLMs is one. One of my favorite names they have is they call them local language models, LLMs. Right. Like another LLM.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not large.
Can they be triple LMs?
Yeah.
Local large
It's actually it's LM squared. I don't know. So
Squared M.
look, I think the general term we're just going to use here is AI models.
Cubed M.
Yeah. Anyway, DeepSeek, as we know, came out a month and a half ago, whatever that was, kind of exploded onto the world stage. It was a big deal. Everyone's freaking out. Microsoft, to their credit, you could imagine they would see this as a problem, and they embraced it immediately. They put DeepSeek up in Azure. They made it
AI
available.
Studio, yeah.
AI Studio. It's it's there, right? And so this past week they expanded on the single distilled model they had previously offered on Copilot species by adding 2 more that have more parameters, right? So the first one was 1.5 billion parameters. Now they have 7 and 14 billion parameter versions of this model. For the time being, they're Snapdragon only, but they will be going to obviously to any Copilot species, so the x86 stuff as well. And all right, like I do, I'm like, I have to try this out. And so you can use something called the AI Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, which is an extension. And then from there, you can browse their little marketplace of all the available models. You can filter that list by, I only want models that are local and only or specifically work on the NPU, which nicely filters the list out. And these new models are there. And so I was like, well, what does this look like? And what it looks like is using a chatbot, except it's in slow motion, right? So a reasoning model like this will spit out, okay, so you're asking me this, and like the way I would think about this is this and this, and so the way I think I would solve this problem, it kind of talks through it. But when you do that on an LLM in the cloud, this happens very quickly, right? In fact, you have to kind of scroll back to kind of catch up with it. It's a little hard to stay up with it. When you do it locally against the NPU, at least the things I've done, which are all programming related, it happens slowly.
retained by the Canadian government, right, John?
Well, basically, they tried to keep it a secret. Now, I did get half the lab returned to me when I
Half the lab.
yeah, that's equipment and gun collection.
What was missing?
Anything to do with machine tools or anything to do with Tesla machinery or high voltage equipment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, governments have always had this disproportionate, strange interest in everything Tesla, haven't they?
They do. And, they try to keep it a secret.
Why do you think that might be, John?
I think there's a lot of potential in technology, like perhaps Star Wars program.
Old secrets that they still know. They don't want generally known. That's all I would give them. Why else rush in, take the stuff, try to keep it secret?
With a cover story that's lazy.
PCB, how does that get into it?
Well, you see, that luckily that they were trying to do this all kind of secret. Hermit living under the Alex Fraser Bridge in Vancouver here. And he leaked it to the front page.
He leaked what?
About the lab being taken away.
Oh, I see. He was a witness then.
Yeah, he was a witness of the mainstream television being measured down there. Oh no, the RTM viewer out there saying.
Eventually, though, you got half the lab back, and that's all. They've got the rest of it still.
Perhaps. I recently tried to get a hold of Dr. L.A. Field from his 1986 visit because they had Super 8 millimeter film, and on analysis of that particular film and video was basically that they found that some of these metal pieces were transparent.
Oh, yes. Let's get to that. The jellification of metal. Somewhere in the same, I assume it's the same process that you described a little while ago that causes levitation. Also can cause jellification of metals. First, define jellification of metals. What can you do?
On video, what happens is these metal samples, which can be 3-inch diameter steel bars, about 8 inches long,
Solid steel.
solid steel,
Yes.
start to move around on a plastic table or on wood,
Yes.
and they see energy running through them on video. See in the center of these pieces something like an expansion, and the thing literally falls apart, and it moves around like a snake, right on prime video.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding, Art.
The metal turns essentially to some kind of rubbery, jelly-like something, and then begins to writhe like a snake on a plate.
Yeah,
That's
on plastic, Art.
well, okay, then let's go back to the beginning of this. You had all of this on video.
Yes, it is. And the samples too.
And so what do your critics possibly say? I mean, you're producing this, metal turning to a writhing snake of something or another. What can the critics say? You have it on tape.
I have it on tape.
So what do they say?
It's a challenge, but these little things, they seem to rebuild. I'd like to downgrade it to like an energy scavenging cell.
Energy scavenging. It's interesting.
Well,
I mean, if what you're saying is true, it's incredible. And of course, it's just the very beginning, John. I mean,
let me sort of mention something here that maybe you can relate to in the audience too. That there's a surplus store, let's say in Ohio there, Fair Radio. They used to sell these barium titanate cylinders, and it's classified as self-reactive material. And these things would constantly, forever, maybe for hundreds of years, put out a constant voltage up and down. They're fluctuate in amplitude. And these units used to sell for, Air radio sales for around $29.
yeah.
And they were once used basically for sonar.
Sonar.
So this material, barium titanate, is actually classified by aircraft safety commission people as a self-reactive material. So if I go back and study self-reactive materials, I understand that Westinghouse, for instance, would make common tar and wax self-reactive through vaporization process and pass it through a high tension direct current, maybe 40,000 volts, and it's liquefied in a capacitor. So I have one of these old self-reactive capacitors.
So then they get what? They get something that produces a voltage?
Oh yeah, I found that out in a surplus store in the 1980s when I grabbed onto one of these beautiful-looking capacitors.
So you're really claiming, in a way, what's new is really old, right?
Yep.
That this is something that was known a long time ago.
Again, that's right, Art.
John Hutchison is my guest, and we're talking about energy.
Telluric earth currents.
That's possible. I was about to say that's possible.
Thinking of it, and also have you measured his, say, during the solar flux index periods of the day?
I don't see any relationship to what's going on. I watch, the solar flux index very carefully, and I watch for when we have large eruptions on the sun, and I don't notice any correlation. This is constant. This energy is always there.
Yeah, I think you're probably tapping into copper wire. Is it multi-strand or?
Yeah, it's multi-strand coated copper wire, 2,000 meters.
Wow, you are tapping. Why not?
Something, I don't know what.
Well, you probably are.
But I guess my point is that if I can observe this, then I have to imagine that what you're doing may have some validity. I wonder if you're tapping into virtually the same thing in some different way or some.
just south of 400, feel the pinch all the way back into Buckhead. From the two-way carrier traffic center, Serpentine traffic, 95.5 WSB. Now Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, sponsored by Shoemake, the official plumber of Atlanta Homes. Here's your meteorologist, Christina Edwards.
Clear skies this evening, sunset around 7:45. Temperatures will be in the mid-60s at that time, eventually cooling into mid-40s for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, sunshine, high 75. The clouds return on Thursday, along with a few isolated rain showers and thunderstorms, high 68. Friday, mostly cloudy, high 72. Watching a strong storm system move into the southeast this weekend. It'll bring a line of heavy rain and thunderstorms to metro Atlanta late Saturday night into Sunday morning. These storms will be capable of damaging wind gusts as well as tornadoes. So continue to monitor the weather situation for this weekend.
75 in Roswell, 74 in Union City, and 72 in Loganville. 20 to 5:30 breaking news when it happens. I'm Joe Cayassio, 95.5 WSP. Hour 3 of the Bob Festival begins.
Go.
Chanting all the major plot points recreates the major moments of said movie. Current time is 16:53. Eastern Daylight Savings Time. 5 degrees.
It wasn't written as a movie.
It was. What are you talking about?
Can I hear that again? I want to hear that one more time.
I really like when Eric Von Hessler straight up denies the Lion King's Hamlet backbone and chanting all the major plot points.
I've never seen The Lion.
The major moments of said movie.
Okay, stop for a second. This is annoying to me. If you went back and listened, I would have said, is that, I was something like that. You and I both said no, but I wasn't denying it because I'd never seen The Lion King. That's what comes back. I should be talking to you, not me. Well, I didn't deny a damn thing. I don't remember denying a damn thing.
Lion King is a kid's adaptation of Hamlet.
But there's so much that happens in Hamlet that doesn't happen in Lion King.
Well, he
It's
said
like,
to kids.
Are there lions in Hamlet?
There are no lions. There's no lions.
All right.
Stars in there.
I didn't know. Very good.
Maybe if you know there's a lion of Denmark. I don't know. You know, it just annoys me that people don't know how to listen to the radio. It really does. Well, I can't do it. I'd like to teach the world to sing, but I can't. I don't have the time. Well, shouldn't it be easy to listen to people on the radio and know what the hell? When did I ever deny? I don't think I did. I was just kind of.
You push back.
I may have pushed back a little bit. I've never seen The Lion King. Right, that's right. I'm not a
I
creep.
really think that you might have actually said, no, it's not.
Like that. Can you feel the love tonight? Oh no.
Autumn's got it.
I may have done that, but I mean, by the end of the whole thing, I was like, was that true? Is that real? Because I've never seen.
Yeah.
So I don't deserve this fellow. This fellow is in vitriol.
I really like when Eric Von Hessler straight up denies the Lion King's Hamlet backbone.
I mean, Kenny, kind of younger. I don't know. Maybe there's a younger. Maybe it's the.
He's gaslighting you.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Cousin.
He does. He kind of sounds like a character in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I really like it when Eric does that. I really do. I really like when Eric straight up denies. First of all, you're lying. You wouldn't like that. That's number one. Number two, Eric did not straight up deny a damn thing. And number three, get a new bomb or change the water. It'll help with the. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Gotta change the water every day. Change the water. The water, you pull a bomb out in there for a week. You're just gonna go ahead. Come on, have some self-respect.
Is it a bomb that for kids? Device for marijuana consumption, a bomb for kids.
Okay, water pump. That's that classic.
The physical device.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, look at a bomb.
Yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, but I don't know. I'm an adult because you have a bomb. No. Ask me if I'm a water pipe. You have a water pipe.
Okay.
get George there to photograph them and get some of the documentation and that out too, or around the world a little bit there to
It's
help.
going to be very important indeed. All right, listen, hold on. We're at a break point here. John Hutchison is my guest. I'm Marcel.
On the internet, this is Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. Filling in for George. Tonight's special guest host is Art Bell. To talk with Art, call the wildcard line at area code 775-727-1295. The first-time caller line is area code 775-727-1222. East of the Rockies, call 800-825-5033. And west of the...
I think the world is going to look at the kind of thing that you're hearing about tonight. You will hear about it tonight. If somebody had done this someday when oil runs out and we're having to turn to some other energy source, and miraculously it appears as like something's, stealthy out of the night, and it cures the world's energy problems, then you'll hear about people reflecting on the fact that programs like this did one time talk about this or the demons.
Formulation of common minerals like we have with uranium. Ground up to fine dust and mix it with salt. There you have yourself a little power supply. I'm sort of holding back on one recipe just to want to make some money someday on this, but just an example is that it's called electrical effects too. If you study Teton and Brown's work in this area, you'll find that that's very intriguing stuff that was once again buried in time. So,
But you can't give us one of the vital ingredients.
you shouldn't, Colonel Saunders, didn't want to give away his secret recipe yet.
What can you produce?
Well,
In terms of voltage, what kind of battery do you end up with? Is it the one we were talking about a little while ago with a volt and a little bit maybe?
This volt, I have some of the half electron volt up to 1.7, and they actually do power alarm clocks and calculators, that kind of thing. So this is where an industrial person with a factory would say, gee, because I'm kind of limited with...
I can't fault you for wanting to make some money, I suppose. I take it you really haven't done ultra well in the profit category from all of this yet, huh?
Well, I have sponsorship from Japan, where there's a unit sitting in Hiroshima City that's quite powerful, but the deal was I have to get 25 million and he would get 25 million.
What happened to your 25 million?
Oh, I didn't see it.
You didn't
One of
see
those
it.
situations. I got sponsored for 130,000 US, sponsored by Germany for 130,000.
That's indeed significant.
It's significant funding. I made some good
But
prototypes.
the big payoff still has to happen.
No, I want to try and maybe market it as a toy because our first made.
That's one of us. Exactly. That's what people should make. Just be That's what
That's what I'm trying to promote to people about the market. I mean, that's that,
and what was your toy?
I don't think
Well, that's fine. Well, I mean, what would I call it? trouble?
Well, let's say in the last one with Griffin Films, yes. And also prior to that for Fox Television, there was neighbors that were very upset with the neighbors. And
What did the police do?
oh, well, this time they one night.
I know I have an article here about the government raid.
Yeah.
Let's see, headline, John Hutchison raided at gunpoint by Canadian police. I have that whole story here. That occurred in March of 2000, right?
2000? Okay, we about that. I then had some antique weapons here.
Saturday, March 18th.
That's right, yeah.
2000, yeah.
Mark A. Solister wrote that up. It was actually during film crew that actually was out here on Miramax Motion Pictures. Still, there's a lot of people like my whole life story.
I bet there are.
Yeah. It gets confusing, Art. So I was doing a free demonstration for Fox TV, and then a knock on the door, and they said, well, we saw they bring in some firearms here. And they were just basically like clock rifles and that kind of stuff, American Civil War items. They came in and took them all out, took me in handcuffs, had the handguns out, the whole SWAT team. But the weird part about what they brought in these photographers.
Well, see, this sort of thing, even as far as you describe it right now, would be a very testing experience for, say, a landlord.
Oh, the landlord himself is amateur respect of all this stuff out here. Like I have an antenna farm on the balcony and a 20mm aircraft gun.
Well, I say, I had a, you had a 20mm anti-aircraft gun. You have one?
Work on Navy ships.
See, John, you know, they have problems with that kind of thing these days. I think pilots probably are made nervous by the knowledge that there's an aircraft going down on the balconies. Why would you have that?
Well, I like our, like, I'm a historian for old guns and stuff, old radio equipment, surplus, and I had, you know, the best part of my life was when I had the chance to work on 3 destroyers, and the deal was I didn't ask for any money, I just took care of the cannons and take anything off the ships I wanted, so I did. I took a lot off the ships.
Including an aircraft gun.
That's the original
Well,
X-Wall.
it's no wonder they're raiding your apartment. What would you expect? Listen, I'm going to ask you about something now that I know you didn't particularly want to be asked about, but I'm driven to because you teased me with it, and
Oh,
so I feel a right to ask you about this.
Okay, please do.
You're working on some kind of project involving, this part of it anyway, is in the construction of the Ark of the Covenant.
Yes.
Tell me as much as you're able, anyway, please.
Well, it's just a special team group there that I'm supposed to be the team member, and my knowledge of old technology is very welcome to them for me to do a replication of it.
You're trying to replicate the energy aspect of the Ark of the Covenant. I can only imagine you're making a model of the Ark of the Covenant for whatever reason. Maybe we're not going to know. And you're part of this is trying to find what you believe was the energy in the Ark. That's
very active. Technology batteries, and perhaps that might use that principle or again some sort of shake and bake method of power sources. There is Egyptian batteries around. I tend to believe they are. When I was in Egypt.
why would somebody want to, in essence, recreate the Ark of the Covenant? Wouldn't there be a certain inherent, very serious dangers in trying to even do that?
I think the dangers. Okay, I've been around hyper voltage circuits like.
Well, I don't mean sort of immediate electrical
Yeah.
dangers as I do the whole,
Psychic realm of it.
well, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah,
the Ark of the Covenant, after all.
Yeah, that's true. There's that element too. So one has to have in mind sort of fine-tuned to take this with great respect, and I do. So I put out the question to experts what they feel about that. You know,
Yes, and what did you say?
I think he must be on vacation. I haven't got an email.
No answer yet, huh?
No, not the last while. I sent him some other emails on other topics, but the thing has to be highly respected.
something that you would do?
Yes, actually, I would do it. I respect all beliefs. No, I don't have anything against any belief systems. And I highly respect nature. So I keep myself kind of humanitarian.
This is well,
I try to. I mean, like more like a Buddhist. Made it to the audience.
what if
I'm kind of happy.
What if doing this had negative consequences? I mean, just bringing that up as a slim possibility, the Ark of the Covenant, after all.
Yeah.
So you recreated and you hit it on the head, and what about the possibility of unleashing something that...
Well, art, it's I believe a lot in the human mind, too, and what they can keep up. Like, we're talking about either Zard or the monsters kid. I think that's highly probable.
Yeah.
In PSI research, and that I've seen a lot of documentation. I have unclassified documents on PSI research that I've been for 12 years. And I would respect this thing very highly in doing it. But a lot of people advise me not to do it because it's political implications.
There'd be plenty of those.
Yeah.
Plenty of those. And all kinds of religions.
Yeah. That's something I really don't want to bring that kind of energy towards me.
How is, in the real world, one in which you're forced to live, God, eventually you're going to have to make some bucks out of all of this. Either that or it's time for a second career. You've got to either figure out a way to get it to pay off, or you're going to just sort of fade away and there's not going to be any future for you. So you've got to figure out a way to make this pay off. You need, what, investors, people to have a demonstration, become believers, and then support you?
I've always seemed to have angels that come on, and I never really felt I needed one may fade away, so what? We all fade away. Fine.
Suppose I'm an angel. Suppose I'm an angel and I've got some money and I contact you and I say, I'm really kind of a skeptic about this kind of thing, but to be honest with you, if you can show me things levitating in the air, you can show me the liquefaction of metal, I've got the money, let's go after it and see if we can't get rich, be my partner, but first, prove it to me. Show me.
Yeah, that's the story for 23 years.
And why should it be?
Yeah. Like we proved it many times with many scientific studies.
Why do you think that is?
We don't know.
I think there's a solid basis to your research and your claim that you can do this. It's no minor matter. It would be cheap for you to reduce investments in capital and money.
Radar, so I just on my shoulders in the way that's how I approach it too. I've walked away from investors.
Just because of control.
Because I really truly believe in what I enjoy is the simple things in life. I don't like to be controlled, like a 9-to-5 situation where you're doing this endlessly. Plus, I don't lack business skills. So I'm more of my own worst enemy in all this stuff too, because that's the way I am.
Well, maybe you need a business manager.
I would help.
How about that?
That would help.
Somebody would look out for your business interests.
That would indeed help, Art.
The people who have talents in your area rarely have, social talents, rarely have business talents.
Very bad business talents.
They usually have their nose stuck squarely in the middle of their work, and anything else is extraneous to that. In fact, almost everything else is extraneous to that.
Yeah, I tend to get that way, and then I tend to also live quite a social life sometimes when I go off to LA or I'm actually invited to the lecture tours, and
subject. And when you're talking about the levitation of material things, the liquefaction of metal, possible, I don't know, bending of time, space, that kind of thing, you either got to say, look, we're dealing with a total lunatic here who's lying his butt off to us, or maybe there really is something to this. I certainly can't dismiss it totally. Yeah, I mean, look what happened with the Philadelphia experiment, for example. There were, you know, if all of that is true, some real tragedies occurred, and that's got to be something you thought about every time you turned on that field.
We were sort of sitting in on our backs here, working. But all the team members, including Colonel Alexander and all the others, are all okay, raised healthy families, and none of us suffered any ill effects.
And nobody ended up in the middle of the cement in your basement or something?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air with John Hutchison. Hello. Number one, I can't take your name on the air. Number two, your audio is so distorted I could never understand. Number one, I can't take your name on the air. Number two, your audio is so distorted I could never understand words you'd say. I have no idea what you were on there, but it was not a good phone. West of the Rockies, let's try you. You're on the air with John Hutchison. Hello.
Hello there. I was wondering if you've ever incorporated color into your equations.
What do you mean color?
Just maybe using a beam of light through a colored glass or something like that.
So color in the equation somehow.
Well, that laser we tried to do a bit of influencing and testing the stupid laser light. That's the only thing that we ever did back in the 80s.
And I take it you did not bend it?
Uncertain. To get a proper measurement on it. It seems like it, but I couldn't really say that it happened or not.
You know, I did say earlier in the program, I think just before you got on, that it's my view that a lot of regular scientists wouldn't do the kind of experiments you're doing, or even endeavor to do them, because they're academically tied to a rule that says that can't be. Therefore, I won't attempt it. And so they will never attempt it. It's people like you who are not chained to these allegedly academic realities, and so you just plow ahead and do it anyway.
So, yeah, because I like history, and I like to study history, electrical, mechanical engineering, and a lot of people did some very interesting things a long time ago. You take 1927, there was a fellow by the name of Henry Moray who had, much like you, these long wire antennas.
Yes.
And he built up these using old vacuum tubes, 2118s, I believe, 4 pins.
Yes.
Made out these transistors out of iron sulfide and some other metals. This thing was able to draw in a lot of energy and power light bulbs. Documented in the book called, I think it's called The Sea of Energy, but it happened. I mean, this event happened, but why does it disappear?
I don't know, John.
It's
Why does knowledge of these things disappear? I'm not really sure. I'm searching for the answer
it's like alternative medicine, right?
for that one myself.
It's just the same thing. All this stuff's all coming out of the east. Well, telepathy.
Yes, indeed. Hold on. You're on the air coast to coast AM with John Hutchison and Art Bell. Top of the morning to you. Where are you, please?
Me?
Yes.
My name's Jeff. I'm from Ferguson, Missouri.
All right, Jeff. Do you have a question for John?
Yes, will the 0-point energy field help with time travel or interdimensional travel?
Interesting question.
Yes, there is. Yes.
Time warpage. Because if you want to build a time machine, you get into a rocket that goes at light speed out there. But why not curve it? We don't have to go on a rocket ship. You could be right here. And I believe we had that kind of thing happen because we'd have metal samples or rock samples that would disappear and not reappear or reappear. But they look like they aged, like they're all shriveled up.
Yes, that's very, very intriguing to me.
Stuff. And you have these weird.
What have you done that with? Now we're talking about a material in this field actually, to our eyes, disappearing and then reappearing in the same place within the field, John, or a different place, or what?
Different location.
In a different location. How different? I mean, 10 feet from where you are, a half mile, what?
No, I'd say maybe 5-6 feet.
5 or 6 feet away, and when they reappear, which is how long generally? How long are they actually gone to your eyes?
From our eyes, it seems like that could be, if they were there and they're not there, and then, well, we're too busy with the experiment, then later on we shut down and make sure everything's shorted out, then we find the thing.
Then it's, I'll be damned, there it is kind of deal.
Yeah, over another location.
So you really don't know how long necessarily it was gone. You saw it disappear and you thought perhaps it was just gone.
Yeah, and then it reappears. And then, of course, these kind of samples, I had the German crew at my institute look them over, and they said there's dark material in there. Some kind of dark material, some that's transparent without any kind of energy field. That's documentation looking at it. Silicates and iron combination that appear there in some very dark, dense material. And there may be many weights, they well, iridium, microscopic embedded in this material, which, you know, I think the results were released in Nature, Roland in Germany there.
Did I ever tell you the story of Madman Mark?
I think so.
Really?
Madman Mark? Is this no. Okay. I'm all ears, Art.
Oh, really? You haven't heard the story of Madman Mark?
I think so. Is this about time travel?
Oh, yeah. Well, I really don't know the answer to that, John. It's about, perhaps it's about time travel. It may simply be about the death of a crazy kid. I don't know. But yeah, I'll tell you the story because it's beginning to sound eerily very much like what you're describing on the show tonight. Items disappearing, appearing older, that kind of thing. So I think we will dig into that briefly when we get back. We have Bob. Somewhere or another. And he'll be back from me. In the meantime, I'm Mark Bell. How you doing? I'm curious. Very curious. Do you invite more media attention? I mean, if after doing this program, for example, you get calls from, I don't know, BBC, independents up there, American television stations or networks that want to come and film your effect. Do you invite that? Do you want that? Or is that a pain in the butt?
I kind of enjoy interacting with people. To get a good producer.
Environments where there was a lot of stimulation, and somehow that allowed him to drop into these tunnels of focus. Whereas when he spent a lot of time alone, there were bouts of focus, but the quiet actually became a distraction. It was as if somebody in here were speculating about diagnoses, but that there's something about external anchors and internal anchors, and that finding that sweet spot is really about knowing ourselves and where we work best at particular times. And this is something I'd like to transition into here, is talking about the fact that there isn't just one environment that works for somebody. It seems like it's often the case that it's certain environments for morning, certain environments for afternoon, certain environments having returned from vacation. You can probably see where I'm going with this. What are your thoughts on people trying to, with ADHD or not, trying to identify sort of best conditions for them, and how important is circadian time here? I know you have, and of course I mentioned in the introduction that you have a lot of background in circadian biology, which I think brings in a really additional and unique dynamic to your understanding of ADHD.
So many people come to me as a psychiatrist for ADHD are primarily focused on medications, and we still know that the stimulants are the single most powerful, in terms of extent of symptom reduction overall, and in terms of percentage of people they help, they're our most potent. And the medicine's not going to change everything, and you need to be focusing on your life as well. And I always start with scheduling. And many people with ADHD find scheduling anathema, but that's like slaves on the galley ship being told that you have to row, stroke, stroke, stroke. What I tell them is that the part of you that's going to help make the schedule that works for you isn't some evil taskmaster trying to make you do what you don't want to do. It's actually the wisest, smartest, nicest, kindest part of you that's identified. What are your bigger goals? How are you going to match what you're doing in the minute to line up with those bigger goals? other hand, you're sort of counting all the chicks and making things aligned and nestling down. And with scheduling, what I tell people is before you slot in your work or your homework or your school or externally derived tasks, I tell people you need to have the 4 basics, and sleep is far and away the biggest basic, particularly for ADHD. It's essential for all of us, but it's particularly critical for ADHD, and there's particular reasons why it's a particular challenge for ADHD. But I think if I can imagine a counterexample, I would say all the successful people I know with ADHD have found some way to try to regularize their sleep compared to what it would be if. So the 4 essentials I say are sleep, eating, exercise, or some amount of movement is going to look at their activity. There's people who can sit at a desk for 12 hours and getting up to the bathroom break or eat or anything. It's not just bad. Not bad for your brain, bad for your body. And then the 4th thing I put in is a miscellaneous category of me time, relaxation, meditation, all those in the same slot. All those need to be in place. We can talk more about sleep, but I'll just say a little bit more about the eating component. So we have our diagnostic criteria for ADHD, but I had, over the years, 2 different real-life tests. The office I had was an old Victorian home, so it was a home office. The office itself was the entrance was at the end of a short, very steep driveway, so it was a separate door. And I would always explain to every new patient the exact same thing. There's a house at 45 Hartford, the office is at 45A, the entrance is at the end of the driveway, and I actually did the data on it. The only people who ever showed up at the front door, the home door, were the people with ADHD. Now, everyone, it wasn't it was specific for ADHD. It wasn't completely sensitive, so some of the ADHD people got it right. But never did anyone who was coming in for OCD or depression or PTSD show up at the front door. And I gave the instructions at the same time, and sometimes I didn't know beforehand the person was coming in for ADHD because they didn't know. But if they showed up at the front door, that always made me, I better make sure I ask specific, detailed questions about the ADHD possible component. So the other sort of real-life diagnostic test I had, if someone during the evaluation would say something like, or in a subsequent session, oh, it was 4 o'clock yesterday and I just realized I hadn't eaten all day. Ding, 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 ding. I have people who diet, I have people who have, fasting regimens or others, but they're not forgetting to eat. And it's not that everyone with ADHD does that, but either not getting the right interoceptive cues from your body or not paying attention to them is something that's been measurable in people with ADHD.
So having a regular meal schedule.
So having a regular meal schedule, and again, getting back to the COVID and workplace, if you're, I had lots of people in tech who really lamented, I have to work from home. They were giving me lunch, a healthy, nice lunch each day at work. They're scrambling to even use the home meal delivery systems because getting that organized and set up is just too overwhelming for them. And again, these are bright people who are succeeding in most parts of their life.
Are these people with ADHD sometimes also starting a meal, taking a few bites, and then going back to work, and then the meal never really ends? It just sort of fragments into the rest of the day.
That can be one variation, but it's often just completely forgetting or being oblivious to it. The other ways ADHD is the role is I was meaning to have breakfast before I left the house, but always when it's time to leave the house, you forget on this. The kids choose to be tied. Oh, do I need a new toothbrush? I better go check upstairs before I go out because I'm going to the CVS store. Time management is a problem with ADHD, an executive function problem. Interestingly, it's not one of the 18 symptoms in our official checklist. So our official checklist is sort of a crude clinical attempt to map out a lot of the aspects of ADHD. about it is he really emphasizes his point that quality sleep is just about 8 hours. It isn't just duration. It's getting quality sleep. And the timing of your sleep is
It's very important for immune system function, memory, not getting depressed. You just don't want cortisol levels to be too high, and you don't want them to be elevated even to normal levels at the wrong time of day. Epinephrine, or adrenaline, has also been demonized. Think of it as the stress, this thing that makes us anxious, fight or flight. The fact of the matter is that epinephrine is your best friend when it comes to your immunity, when it comes to protecting you from infection. And epinephrine, adrenaline, is your best friend when it comes to remembering things and learning and activating neuroplasticity. We want to talk about that as well. Once again, it's a question of how much and how long and the specific timing of release of cortisol and epinephrine, as opposed to cortisol and adrenaline being good or bad. They're terrific when they're regulated. They are terrible when they're dysregulated. We need lots of tools to regulate them. I'd like to take a quick break and acknowledge one of our sponsors, Better. First of all, provides a good rapport with this month only, March 2025, for performance. It's also important that you get adequate electrolytes. The electrolytes, sodium, magnesium, potassium, quinone, citrus, etc. Frankly, I love them all. If you'd like to try Element, you can go to drinkelement.com/Huberman. Get a free Element sample pack with the purchase of any Element drink mix. Again, that's drinkelement.com/Huberman Lab and a free sample of kidneys in your lower back to release cortisol, a so-called stress hormone. But I would like you to think about cortisol not as a stress hormone, but as a hormone of energy. It releases a situation in your body whereby you want to move, and whereby you don't want to rest, and whereby you don't want to eat, at least at first. Epinephrine, or adrenaline 101, in less than 2 minutes. When you sense a stressor with your mind, or your body senses a stressor, or a wound or something of that sort, a signal is sent to neurons that are in the middle of your body, called the sympathetic chain ganglia, and it doesn't matter. They release norepinephrine very quickly. It's almost like a sprinkler system that just hoses your body with epinephrine. That will increase heart rate, increase breathing rate, also increase the size of vessels and arteries that are giving the blood flow to your vital organs. Also release adrenaline from your adrenals. Again, so right at the top of your kidneys. And you release it from an area of your brain called locus ceruleus, and that creates alertness in your brain. Okay, so we have cortisol and we have epinephrine, and their net effect is to increase energy. So the first tool is to make sure that your highest levels of cortisol are first thing in the morning when you wake up. One way or another, every 24 hours, you will get an increase in cortisol. It's to stimulate movement from being asleep, presumably horizontal, to getting up and starting to move about your day. The best way to stimulate that increase in cortisol at the appropriate time is that very soon after waking, within 30 minutes or so after waking, get outside, view some sunlight. Even if it's overcast, get outside, view some sunlight, no sunglasses. Do that because in the early part of the day, you have the opportunity to time that cortisol release to the early part of the day. It will improve your focus, it will improve your energy levels, and it will improve your learning throughout the day. So here's how it works. On a sunny day, so no cloud cover, provided that the sun is not yet overhead, it's somewhere low in the sky, could have just crossed the horizon, or if you wake up a little bit later, it could be somewhat low in the sky. Basically, the intensity of light, the brightness, is somewhere around 100,000 lux. Lux is just a measurement of brightness. On a cloudy day, it's about 10,000 lux. Okay, so tenfold reduction. But bright artificial light, very bright artificial light, is somewhere around 1,000 lux. And ordinary room light is somewhere around 100 to 200 lux. So even if you have a very bright bulb sitting right next to you, that's not going to do the job. Your phone will not do the job, not early in the day. To get the cortisol released at the appropriate time, you need to get outside. So let's just set a couple general parameters. If it's right outside and no cloud cover, get outside for 10 minutes. If it's a cloudy day, dense overcast, you're probably going to need about 30 minutes. If it's light cloud cover, it's probably going to be something between 10 and 20 minutes. This is why it's vital to get this light on a regular basis, to get that cortisol boost. That sets you up for optimal levels of energy. Now, throughout the day, you're going to experience different things. Most of you are not spending your entire day trying to optimize your health. Some of you might be, but most of you have jobs, families, commitments. Life enters the picture and provides you stressors. Those will cause increases in cortisol and epinephrine. The key is these blips in cortisol and epinephrine need to be brief. You can't have them so often or lasting so long that you are in a state of chronic cortisol elevation or chronic epinephrine. This system of stress was designed to increase your alertness and mobilize you towards things, get you frustrated, and provide the opportunity to change behavior. And the reason it works is that cortisol, when it's released into the bloodstream, it actually can bind to receptors in the brain. It can bind receptors in the amygdala, fear centers, and threat detection centers, but also areas of the brain that are involved in learning and memory and neuroplasticity. This is why I say that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change itself in response to experience, is first stimulated by attention and focus, and often at a low level state of agitation. So understand that, and you won't be quite so troubled about the real stress increases that you experience. Now, there are ways to leverage stress, epinephrine, and cortisol in ways that serve you, that do it in a deliberate way. There are also ways to do that increase your level of stress threshold, meaning they make it less likely that epinephrine and cortisol will be released. So I want to talk about the science of those practices, because I get asked about these practices a lot. Things like lunar breathing, which is also called tumo breathing, things like ice baths, things like high intensity interval training. All of those things have utility. The question is how you use them and how often you use them. Those tools, just like stress from a life event, can either enhance your immunity or deplete it. That's right, those same practices of ice baths, tumo breathing, high intensity interval training, or training of any kind can deplete your immune system or they can improve your immune system. The key is how often you use them and when. So I want to review that now in light of the scientific literature, because in doing that you can build practices into your daily or maybe every other day routine that can really help buffer you against unhealthy levels of cortisol and epinephrine, meaning cortisol increases that are much too great or that last much too long. Epinephrine increases that are much too great or that last much too long. Let's say somebody tells you something very troubling. Look at your phone and you see a text message that's really upsetting to you. That will cause an immediate increase in epinephrine, adrenaline, in your brain and body. And chances are it's going to increase your levels of cortisol as well. Let's say you get into an ice bath or a cold shower. That will cause an equivalent increase in epinephrine and cortisol. Let's say you go out for high intensity interval training. You decide you're going to run some sprints, do some repeats, or you're going to do some weightlifting in the gym, or you decide that you want to do some hot yoga. You're going to increase your epinephrine and cortisol levels. And guess what? They increase your levels of energy and alertness. So if you're somebody who struggles with energy and alertness, it can be beneficial, provided you get clearance from your doctor, to have some sort of protocol built into your day where you deliberately increase your levels of epinephrine and your levels of cortisol. So it's really important to understand that the body doesn't distinguish between a troubling text message, ice, tumo breathing, or high intensity interval training, or any other kind of exercise. It's all stress. Cognitively reframing that and telling yourself, I like this, I enjoy it, is not going to change the way that that molecule impacts your body and brain. I chuckle because people would love to tell you that all you have to do is say, oh, this is good for you. No, what it does to tell yourself that it's good for you and enjoy it is that it liberates other molecules like dopamine and serotonin that help buffer the epinephrine response. Now, the way that it does that, I've talked about in a previous episode, but I'll just mention that dopamine is the precursor to epinephrine. Epinephrine is made of dopamine. And that's why if you tell yourself you're enjoying something, And because dopamine is so subjective, that you can, in some ways, as long as you're not completely lying to yourself, you can get more epinephrine, you get more mileage or more ability to push through something, and you can sort of reframe it. But it's not really cognitive reframing. The cognitive part is the trigger, but it's a chemical substance that's actually occurring. It's dopamine giving you more epinephrine, bigger amplitude epinephrine release, and it gives you some sense of control. So here's a protocol that anyone can use if you want to increase levels of energy, if you suffer from low energy during the daytime, or whenever it is that you'd like to be alert. Pick a practice that you can do fairly consistently, maybe every day, but maybe every third day or every fourth day. Maybe it's an ice bath or a cold bath. Maybe it's a cold shower. Maybe it's the cyclic inhale, exhale, breathing protocol I described. If that wasn't clear, and people always ask for a demo, I'm not going to do the whole thing right now, but I'm willing to do a few rounds of this, or a few cycles, I should say. So it's inhale. I would do that more deeply, more like, you do that 25, 30 times repeatedly, you will start to feel warm. People in the yogic community, they say you're generating heat. You're not generating heat, you're releasing adrenaline. Inhale, exhale, 25 or 30 times. You will feel agitated and stressed. That's because you're releasing adrenaline in your body, and that's because you're releasing norepinephrine in your brain, and you'll be more alert. I'd like to take a quick break and acknowledge our sponsor, AG1. AG1 is a vitamin mineral probiotic drink that also includes prebiotics and adaptogens. As somebody who's been involved in research science for almost 3 decades, and health and fitness for equally as long, I'm constantly looking for the best tools to improve my mental health, physical health, and performance. I discovered AG1 way back in 2012, long before I ever had a podcast. And I've been taking it every day since. I find that AG1 greatly improves all aspects of my health. I simply feel much better when I take it. AG1 uses the highest quality ingredients in the right combinations, and they're constantly improving their formulas without increasing the cost. Whenever I'm asked if I could take just one supplement, what would that supplement be? I always say AG1. If you'd love to try AG1, go to Drink Agents Metabolism, high intensity interval training, or other forms of exercise. Of course, has cardiovascular effects that can be good for us, weight training, etc. But what we're talking about here are ways to increase energy and to teach our brain and body, to teach ourselves how to regulate the stress response. So in addition to the benefits of the actual practices, what we're talking about is building a system so that when you experience increases in epinephrine and cortisol from life events, you're able to better buffer those. And we are also talking about ways that you can increase energy overall. So, immune system. There's a biological mechanism that's very important if you want to do those things. Increase energy in your immune system and learn to buffer stress on demand. And it means taking these protocols, these practices, whether or not it's cold water or ice bath or exercise or any of those, and making one small but very powerful adjustment. But in order to make that adjustment, I can't just tell you the adjustment. I have to tell you the mechanism so that you know if you're doing it correctly. This is really a case where you can understand a little bit of mechanism, you will be far better off than just adopting protocols. Cortisol, as I mentioned, is released from the adrenals. So it can have action in the body and in the brain. Cortisol can cross the blood-brain barrier. Epinephrine cannot. That's one of the reasons why it's released both from the adrenals in your body and released from this brainstem area, the one that's released in your brain. That's a powerful thing, because what it means is that the body can enter states of readiness and alertness while the mind remains calm. So I'm presuming at this point that you're getting your morning light to time your cortisol increase. I'm presuming that you want more energy, or that you want to increase your immune system, its function, and its ability to combat infections of various kinds. Now, the simplest way to describe how to do that would be in the context of cold water or a breathing protocol. Let's presume cold water. So let's say you decide to take a cold shower. You get into the cold shower, and if it's cold enough, that will be stressful. You will experience an increase in epinephrine. Increase your alertness. Now, you're using this as a practice. as a tool to build, you could call it resilience, but the ability to stay calm in the mind while being stressed in the body, epinephrine in the body. And you do that by subjectively trying to calm yourself. Now you can do that by telling yourself it's good for you, by emphasizing your exhales, anything that you can do to try and stay calm despite the fact that you are in a heightened state of alertness. You can do this with exercise, you can do this with music, pretty much anything that will give you a really heightened state of alertness offers you the opportunity to try and stay calm in the mind. What you're trying to do at a mechanistic level is to have adrenaline released from the adrenals, but not have adrenaline epinephrine released from the brainstem to the same degree. So you're not just trying to buffer this. You're not trying to say, oh, this is good for me, this is good for me, I'm going to grind this out. You're not trying to grind it out. You're trying to move through this calmly while maintaining alertness. In the immediate period following that
on Atlanta's Morning News, 25 and 55 after each hour. 30 minutes from now, it's 6:55. Clark's new tips getting the most out of the Medicare Advantage plan. In-depth updating the search for that missing American college student in the Dominican Republic. Here's CBS's Manuel Borges.
Surveillance video shows that in the early morning hours last Thursday, she went to the beach with friends, and then there was an interaction arm to arm with another American visitor who was not part of her original friends group. That man returned to the hotel room hours later, but without her. The president of this country has said that based on interviewing that man, they're working under the assumption that she may have accidentally drowned. He said that they were taken over by a wave. But her family has come here to Punta Cana to beg and insist that the investigators also consider all other possible scenarios, including foul play. The search has been by air, land, and sea, but so far, no sign. Authorities here in the Dominican Republic tell us this remains an active and open investigation.
She disappeared 1 week ago today. Atlanta's Morning News continues with the top stories in 2.5 minutes. Now, could it be that egg prices are about to come down? Why, that just may be. It's 6:27. Hope.
Like an aqua park and a sweets shop.
American, je ne sais quoi.
Mom, you're from Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, Kevin. Book now and save up to 35% off. Plus, get sail free. MSC Cruises. Let's holiday. To book, visit msccruises.com or contact your travel advisor. Restrictions apply. Ships registered in Panama and Malta.
Thanks for calling Reliable Heating and Air. This is Steve. How can I help?
Hi, I know it's late, but my furnace just died on us.
Don't worry at all. We have over 300 technicians throughout Metro Atlanta and Macon, so we can get to furnaces fast.
Oh, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah, and it looks like you have a reliable protection plan.
Yeah.
Perfect. This service call is no charge, and so is the repair.
Thank you so much.
Get fast and fair price furnace repair. Go to Reliable.
Secret code. That's the mother of all switch caches. Now, there should be a pallet here.
Please scan your barcode. If you have a validation, please scan it after you have scanned your ticket. If you are paying by credit card, please insert your card face up and leave it inserted until processing is complete. If you are using a mobile payment method, please tap to pay on the left-hand side of the kiosk and leave your mobile device near the reader until processing is complete. If you are a monthly parker, please tap your access card on the Wave ID on the lower right-hand side of the kiosk.
Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Cloudy skies today with afternoon pop-up showers and thunderstorms, high 72. Lows tonight in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, high 75. Saturday, starting off with morning rain showers. Then the strong to severe thunderstorms arrive late Saturday night into Sunday morning, damaging wind gusts as well as a few tornadoes possible before 6 a.m. on Sunday.
Storm tracker radar showing some of the rain right now in Cobb County, moving into North Fulton and DeKalb counties this hour. 73 in Marietta, 72 Lawrenceville, 72 in Stockbridge. Fortunes at 3:30. Breaking news wind hours. I'm Nick Bianchio, 95.5 WSB.
Just make noise and basically waste Earth time.
Dear members of the media and the public, I welcome you live from the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, and beyond. Hour one of the Von Hessler witches and moons for a few minutes, and then takes off.
A lot of songs about the moon.
There are a lot of songs about the sun.
Well, it's relatable.
My favorite is called...
Oh, dancing in the moonlight.
It is relatable. Everybody's seen the moon.
Everybody here is out of sight. They don't bark and they don't bite.
My favorite song about the moon is called Write a Song About the Moon. I think it's called Song About the Moon by Paul Simon. Great.
Why isn't it Mr. Moonlight by the Beatles?
Because that was a cover.
Oh.
Was it not?
I don't know. It just says here in the songs about the moon.
Yeah, it is about the moon, but I think it's a cover. I don't think he wrote... some Beatles fans think that's the worst Beatles song.
That moon song? I've never heard it, so I gotta listen.
I love that.
It's not
That Radiohead song, Sail to the Moon, is awesome.
Yeah, okay.
But anything that Radiohead does is
All
awesome.
right, how about we start entertaining the audience?
404-872-0772.
What's your favorite song about the moon? Insincerely be sincere. You come to the right place. You ask me any questions. Hey, guy. Hey, Sparky. Sparky. No, I don't say Sparky.
Hey, Sparky.
That's when I've forgotten your child's name. Hey, Sparky.
What is the dog?
How's the kid doing? How's the kid doing?
I don't care. Huh?
I say, how's the kid doing?
How's the kid? Hey, how's your kid doing?
Oh, they're fine. God, what gender?
Whenever we go to, whatever I have to go to Dayton, Ohio. I know, you're jealous.
Go to the Bobette
this weekend. And
what's happening there?
It's my brother-in-law's having his 60th birthday.
Nice.
And yeah, before we go anywhere, because there'll be a lot of people, I have to stop. I'm like, okay, yeah, me too. Underneath this, somebody who's pictures of kids, they like it. When I go back home to Western New York, it's kind of 2 years. So like they'll
can happen
and then they'll flash up on my glasses. So it's just, you know, because there'll be one time that I will walk in, I will see your face, Jared, and I'll go, is that
Think so?
Jezebel? Jezebel? Is it Jezebel?
Jezebel Yamamoto?
Close.
It's Jared.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah.
It's Kiami.
I have stunned myself with the people whose names I've forgotten. And this is over the years. It's not like it's not like although as I get old, the short-term memory gets even worse.
But massive family gathering, you're not going to interact that much with the kids, so why does it matter if you didn't know their names, really?
Well, I mean, like, first of all, they don't see me very often, so I feel like a need to be like, hey, I'm that guy you may have heard me, or maybe they talk about me. I don't know. They probably don't. But I'm that guy.
You've got to take some of those on the radio.
Now you're still stuck in all this mess? Merry Christmas. We'll see you in 3 years.
A popular retirement myth is that once you retire, taxes go away. Not so much. We're here with Eric Vincent of the Vincent Financial Group, and let's talk about the importance of having a tax strategy, not just now, but into and through retirement.
Taxes will be your biggest expense in retirement. I love analogies. So whenever I was a kid, I got in trouble sometimes. When I reached a certain age, my parents gave me the option. They said, hey, you can either choose to get spanked, or you can choose to be grounded for the next week. The choice is you want spanking, like you're going to choose the pain right now, or you're going to choose the purgatory pain of just over and over again. Every day you wake up, friends are playing outside, and you get to sit look out the window and watch them play. But that's a tough choice to make. That's basically, in a nutshell, what Mark is saying. What do you do when some tax strategies? Right now, we don't have a budget. You just say, hey, I'm going to those. What do you pay taxes for? That's just not. There are definitely strategies that will help mitigate the amount of taxes that you'll pay. We can calculate how much you'll pay over your retirement, and we can determine what that tax bill will be. That's the grounding. That's the default path. That's the one that if you don't have a plan for your money, you fall into the government's plan for your money, and that is that you choose the grounding. Who wants to feel pain now? Who's going to choose pain? I'll raise my hand and say, yeah, I want to spank you. If you don't even know it's an option, you're definitely not choosing. The whole simple point is there are strategies, there are things that you can do to mitigate those taxes you're going to pay over a 30 or 40 year period of time, but don't choose to spank you.
The choice is yours. Pay a little more now or a lot later. Call the team at the Vincent Financial Group and take advantage of that no-cost, no-obligation tax back. 770-280-1388. That's 770-280-1388. Online at retireratioradio.com.
nation's biggest trading partners. Wall Street does not like uncertainty. Atlantic Station, that's exit 251 17th Street, and headed from Gwinnett, Norcross, Marietta. No problems heading into Midtown. This report is sponsored by Rapid Radios. Rapid Radios are instant push-to-talk walkie-talkies offering national LTE coverage. For a limited time, go to rapidradios.com now for 60% off and free UPS shipping. AgPro Radios is an extra 5% off.
President Bush is sagging in the poll numbers, and the Democrats are pounding away, unrelenting, and things are beginning to get pretty hot in the presidential race. So he's made some about faces. The Iraq War intelligence, his own military service record in question, cooperation with the panel investigating the 9/11 attacks. I mean, just backwards on everything. So politics getting hot. let's see. A Carnival Cruise Line ship returned from a 5-day cruise to Mexico on Saturday with more than 300 people sick. There's been an awful lot of that going on with cruise lines. Have you noticed? Looks like this may be the norovirus, they call it. Spread through contaminated food, contact with infected people, poor hygiene, and the whole thing, they say, can be prevented by washing one's hands. In a moment, we will interview a vampire. like to be invisible. I can see how a vampire would certainly consider that would have its advantages.
And it is believed that to be in the earth,
yes,
for some time,
yes,
would help to get me to that point.
You've considered the dangers involved. How far down are you going to be buried?
Roughly, we're going to dig a hole that's going to be 5 feet deep.
That's pretty deep.
Mm-hmm.
Not the traditional 6, but pretty deep.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be prepared for that time.
Are you going to take your normal casket with you, or is it going to be a special affair?
No, I'm going to buy a different one.
You're going to buy a special casket?
Yes. I have 2 caskets in the home. They're very beautiful, and I wouldn't want to get them dirty.
Oh, that would be one for you and
one for my wife.
So, once again, your wife is also a vampire.
Yes.
All right. Well, Morgan, hold on. I'm sure they'll have questions for you out there. I certainly have many more. So she's a vampire too. Huh. Again, Morgan. All right, Morgan.
Yes.
Well, first of all, before we dive into the phones here, there are a lot of people who have questions for you, obviously.
I'm sure.
Sure. Is there anything about vampirism that we haven't covered that people should know that's important?
I would just advise people to be very careful.
Oh?
When they meet someone who claims to be a vampire.
Why?
Jump into it.
Right, but why do you say that again?
There are a lot of psychotic people in the world that will take advantage of you.
And that's very careful. That would be. So there's some trouble portion of that.
Yeah, small segment. Mostly deep.
Always. See, that happens. But, the one thing I guess I want to know, and really everybody else too. All right, I very much appreciate your call and your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, yeah. I began to realize, I mean, you never know, see, when you get an email like this, whether you're going to get the real McCoy or whether you're going to get, you know, somebody yanking on your leg, but you really do seem...
Yeah, there's some people who question the whole thing, but to me it's the lifestyle. It's life. I've become this. And I enjoy it. We all
something about a silver bullet. And
that would kill me.
Oh, a silver bullet would, well, probably a lead one would too.
That would kill my human body.
Fucking assholes. Fuck these fucking people.
Or in person. That's guidance from Chase. Level.
Solving big puzzles.
What's going on? Take it easy on the mountain there, guys. The lights are on, but you're not home. It's a mound kind of beaten day. Everybody's so happy they're even. A lot of beating of mounds. They got like half the lights on. So that's the old dugout, eh? Is there a dog staring at me? It's like a border collie sitting there. See that? It's kind of weird. Looks like we're all gonna die. Maybe the Mets have shown up. Is it on the big screen? No. It's got some bad pixels going. These guys will beat a mound until the sun comes on. Back on the green. Fuckface.
And in that religion, what is worship? Is it a deity or is it? Really?
And we worship our undead gods.
Undead gods?
The people, the vampires that have been here before, that have passed on, speak to us and channel to us.
Channel.
We worship to
I'm
them.
kind of down on channeling. I don't know why. It seems to me that channeling, well, I don't know, just so it would be so easy to fake it. Mr. Walkie's on here. Is this something that all vampires eventually get to somehow, or is this just something you do?
Oh, many do this. Many do this. I'm not the only one.
These really amazing. So there's like this whole world out there that I don't know anything about.
Well, you're learning now.
I guess I am. I'm here with Morgan the Vampire.
Or Jesus, and what do you think they think about all this?
When he said all that, did you just drop the phone?
I'm sorry?
No, I'm talking to Morgan here.
I believe in God.
You believe in God?
Yes, I do. And the devil.
Thinks about drinking blood and stuff, all this.
He couldn't be that, well, I don't know, he wouldn't be that happy about it.
Worry about going to hell?
Oh yeah, there's another.
No, I don't worry about going to hell.
Why not?
I'm not sure that it would be a bad place to be.
Hell?
Yes.
Well,
as defined by the Christian Bible.
Well, really? What do you imagine hell might be?
It would not be as in the Christian Bible.
You don't think there'd be, pitchforks and fire and brimstone and all the traditional hell rituals?
No.
Hi there, you've got one more, Morgan. You're on the air with Morgan. Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello, Mark?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Kenny.
Kenny?
Yeah, I'm on Parts for the Man.
And Kenny, what's up?
I want to know if he says he stays in during the day and he prowls through the night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, and you live on blood alone?
No. I eat food.
Now, do you take blood or drink blood just as a dietary supplement, or is it a important?
Blood is spiritual, and it's necessary. Without it, if I go more than a week, or if any of us go more than a week, we become very irritable.
Really? Well, then that sounds almost like a narcotic where
Very much so. It could be just that way.
hooked on blood. And so,
It's a very beautiful thing.
when you have it,
Mm-hmm.
is blood at times, I mean, does it, sort of dry up? I mean, your connections for blood not be available at the right time, or what?
Yeah, that can happen. And there have been times when vampires have gone and there are people who didn't want to be involved in this.
Would that be, is this the dark side, the deadly side that you also included, when you sent me the email, you talked about a deadly serious side. What is the deadly serious side?
For us, it would be the law.
Yeah, huh? Well, for many.
But we really try not to break any laws. But there are a few sometimes that do.
So,
we've read about those in the newspaper. They give us all a bad name.
There's always a few bad apples. I guess even with vampires, huh? All right. Well, it's interesting to see what the reaction of the audience is like. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, I'm a friend with Morgan, the vampire.
Oh?
I actually know him, and
Yeah, your accents sound somewhat similar, actually. So you really know each other?
What is your name?
Jason. I'm friends with Nathan and Adam, your sons.
Hello.
Okay, one thing is turn your radio off.
Turn that radio off,
yes,
Kevin.
Kevin, yes. So you know Morgan, huh?
Yes, I know both of his sons, and I can verify he is a vampire. I have seen the coffin, I have seen the fangs, and all that stuff.
How do you, you're not a vampire, though?
No, not a vampire.
Okay, so you know Morgan. You know Morgan. You recognize this person?
Oh,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so
yes.
you're verifying he's a vampire.
Yes.
Did he tell you this, or did you just realize, holy smokes, Morgan's a vampire?
He's discussed it with me, and I've seen his fangs, and I've seen the coffins by going and visiting my friends, and I've asked him stuff about it. It's kind of interesting, cool.
So you have no problem with it?
No.
Haven't you ever felt like sort of, I don't know, guarding your neck or something?
No.
When you're around him?
No. Never felt threatened. Never, felt any kind of, threat from Morgan. He's a cool dude. I don't think he would, do anything without asking or, like you said, the blood circle and all that stuff,
I appreciate your call, and I'm sure Morgan appreciates the support.
Thank you, Jay.
All right, so there you are, neighbor or close friend of a vampire. Oh, my wildcard line, you're on the air with Morgan the vampire. Hello. Hello. Going once, twice, gone. East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Morgan. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty well, sir.
Hey, hello. Hey, good morning, Morgan. I was just wondering, this is Jazz Cat and Yahoo Chatting. I was just wondering, Morgan, do you shop at Hot Topics?
No.
What is that, some kind of plug? That's a plug, huh?
No.
Do you have a serious question? Come on, we got a vampire here. You don't get a chance to ask a vampire question every day.
Okay. No, that's it.
That's it, all right. Plug. West of the Rockies, you're on the air with Morgan the vampire. Hello.
Hi,
Hi.
This is Fred.
Hey, Fred.
Centerville. I was just wondering, does it have to be the blood of humans, or can it be blood of animals?
That's a really good question, and maybe a too good a question.
And blood from an animal will suffice with nothing else available, but it will not do the trick ultimately. Once you've had the taste of blood in your system, you need human blood.
Did you catch that call?
Yeah. Okay.
Interested?
Oh, I don't think I have up for any donations.
No, huh? All right, well...
Wait, I have another question.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, what if the person whose blood you're getting take like medication. There's medication in their blood stream.
Never thought of that.
Is that affected?
Well, we're very careful, and we screen our donors so to make sure that that is not a problem.
They practice safe vampirism.
Mm-hmm.
He wants that known, all right?
Okay.
All right, there you are. First time caller line, you are on the air with Morgan.
Hey, Art, how you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. I have a question for Morgan. How you doing, Morgan?
Fine.
I have a friend who's a werewolf, and I'm familiar with some of the circles that you guys run in. And I have a question. First of all, do you ever worry about blood-borne viruses like AIDS? I mean, the Chinese drink duck blood. That's part of their daily diet, and they have the birds and stuff over there. So do you worry about that, or what?
Yes, we do, and I worry very much about that, and I'm very careful, as I told you earlier, to make sure that would not be a problem.
How do you test the blood?
We have a nurse in our circle,
Okay.
and we screen the blood.
Okay, and this is a common thing, Art. It's been going on for centuries. I mean, vampirism is bigger than you think. It's on the internet. I mean,
Well, I did. I went and hit Google with vampire, and it was just unending. So I do admit, I'm actually admitting.
So they just assume that the soul has left the body. But the bottom line is, there's a big difference between a near-death experience and an out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experiences are much more prevalent because they occur spontaneously during sleep. And, of course, you don't have to die.
Right. That's a good point, of course. You don't have to die. But still, I'm going to do what I'm forced to do because I have to relate to my own experience. This has happened to me, as you know. Yeah, we've talked about it in previous shows. But boy, I'll tell you what, William, when it happened, I wasn't meditating. I wasn't wishing anything on myself. I wasn't thinking that I'd want to have an out-of-body experience. It was the furthest thing from my mind, and it just happened. Boom! It just happened like that.
I know, it's wild. That's what happens to millions and millions of people around the world every single day. And they don't, it's not self-initiated.
That doesn't happen to me every day.
No, but
you're saying it happens to millions.
It happens to millions of people every day. I get incredible feedback from people from all over the world.
Well, that's why this is such a hot topic, because this does happen to people. It really does happen to people. And I would imagine, what percentage of people, William, do you think that this happens to? Don't have the slightest doggone idea what an OBE is. Don't listen to Coast to Coast AM or any other show like it. They have no idea what just happened to them.
Oh, that's the problem, Mark. Most people that have these experiences don't have a clue, and they don't have any accurate information. So they just slough it off.
I mean, a lot of people would think, what? Did I just have a heart attack or a stroke or something like that? Or because it's pretty traumatic when it happens.
It absolutely is, but most people don't have a context to put it in, so they have a hard time. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Some people think it's an alien abduction, because that's their frame of reference on this topic. Some people, I've had letters from people that think that the devil is taking them away. And it all depends on your frame of reference, and unfortunately, our society is not well educated on this universal topic. It isn't really into just this last 10 years that people really started to talk about this subject openly.
Well, you're right about one thing. It is universal. It's just, so all of us, when did the awareness of OBEs break from this sort of individual observation to people writing books, people beginning to realize, holy smokes, this really can happen. You really can leave your body. When did it, it's still not mainstream, so I can't say when did it go mainstream, but I mean, when did it sort of congeal into the world talking about it?
I think that began with Moody's work that come out, Life After Life, with his near-death work, where he talks about, he actually coined the word out-of-body in that book, which was published, I believe, in 1972.
Dr. Raymond Moody.
Yes. He was a wonderful man, and he did a great service to humanity by breaking the mold and starting to talk about these subjects. And he brought a lot of credibility to the topic because he was a physician, and people started to take this stuff seriously. And then from then on, there was quite a few books, including my own, come out in '96, which thank goodness now did well and is in 8 languages.
Okay, so this is still though, it's a relatively new, recognized phenomenon. Is that fair to say?
It is. It's really about 20 to 30 years old. And really in the last 10, I would say, it's really become mainstream, where you see bumper stickers and T-shirts and stuff like that out there. And
do you really?
Oh yeah, they're out there. It's kind of surprising. I was in Vegas doing a workshop, and somebody had a "Don't bother me." They were sitting at the casino playing cards. I couldn't believe it. On the T-shirt on the back it said, "Don't bug me. I'm having an OBE." I'll be back in a few minutes.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people leave the bodies temporarily in Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's true.
Since there will be a lot who will not know what we really are talking about, you may have had the beginnings of an OBE, folks, even if you didn't have the full one. You may have had the beginnings. In fact, I think almost everybody has had the beginnings of an OBE. What does it feel like when you start to have one?
Well, that's one of the things I did my survey on. I was fascinated with what were the common phenomena associated with it.
Oh, all right. Tell them about your survey, I guess. How many people did you, may I ask?
Oh, sure. Yeah, the survey, I started it. It was, of course, published in my first book, and then I put it on my website, which is linked to yours. And I thought maybe a couple hundred people would respond, and lo and behold, I had over 16,000 people responded in the last few years.
So, this is on your website? The survey can be taken?
Yes, I invite all the listeners out there to come to my website and participate in the survey. It only takes a minute.
Listen, folks, and what you're about to hear, and there's a lot of information you're going to get tonight based on the survey, is from 16,185 people, right?
Oh, absolutely. And actually, the number is much greater than that now, but that's what the survey results was based on.
All right. So then let's describe it, and perhaps you can use some of the survey numbers as you describe it.
Oh, absolutely. I think people would be surprised. Number one is, well, this is often, OBEs occur often spontaneously during sleep. Let me preface that so people have an idea of what we're talking about.
Do they ever occur when you're awake?
They can, but they're much less frequent. They generally, I don't know the exact percentage, but I would say high 90, certainly 95 to 98% of people, they are